Good morning, Carol Martine, welcoming you back to my studio. Today I'm going to be introducing a possible new series that I'm going to begin, and it is called Just for Me, and I mean that literally. This watercolor and drawing practice is just for me. I'm noticing so many wonderful coloring books and things of that nature that are being sold now for people who need a little time out for their heads and their souls. So I thought, why not do something that will take me out of the real world that I live in for a little bit, give me joy, and give me practice with my art. So this is what I have come upon. I purchased this Strathmore watercolor 140-pound book, and I think it might have been purchased in A.C. Moore or Michael's, and it is 5.5 inches by 7 inches. This is a wonderful, wonderful journal. The cover almost feels like wood. Front and back, equally firm. The paper is marvelous, heavy watercolor paper. And I have done 3 projects in here that I would like to talk to you about. And then I will introduce some of the plans that I have for going forward. But this is still going to be just for me or just for you. The first picture that I picked was this one. I wanted something fairly simple and straightforward so that I could practice a bit with my watercolors. I picked this one, I don't know why. It just spoke to me. It was part of a larger page, and I picked this part of that larger page to sketch onto my watercolor paper. This is what I turned this into. I am not letting my negative thinking or what I could have done better shout at me right now. I just did this on the 2nd of February for me. The next one that I chose was this one. Again, part of a larger picture and much more detailed. This one, very little detail. This one, lots of detail. But, number one, I wanted to practice picking the bits of this picture that I enjoyed and wanted, and just to find out whether or not I could, in fact, draw this picture. Wow, was it a job of work. Really did not let me think of anything but what I was doing. I was totally focused on playing with my watercolors and learning. On this one, I was particularly proud of the effect that I was able to achieve, not really knowing how I was going to make this work. I just plunged. I am very happy, and I must say, proud of these 2 flowers. I made them work. But here again, the thing that I really, really, really wanted to see if I could do was to wet the background and lay a very subtle and pale color down without having blooms and motion in my watercolor. And I did achieve it here, and I must say I'm really, really tickled with this effect. So, this one not so tedious. This one, a mottled background. This one, a little bit more tedious. But I defy anyone to be working here and thinking of other things. It kind of puts you in your happy place. For this one I did on the 6th of February. My last one, I decided to really jump in with both feet. I was taken by this picture, which was a large one, of koi. So I isolated this fish, this flower, this leaf floating, and part of this one. And I put them here. I must say that the pencil sketch was quite important here in order to achieve this effect. I was really over my head on this one, but nothing ventured. For the first time, I used my Kuretake Tambi gold watercolor to achieve the scales on this koi. I'm not sure that I'm going to continue with this level of hard work. And it was hard work because I'm new at this, I'm learning, I'm experimenting, but it's definitely a happy-making piece. I'm waiting to begin on this next one, but before I do that, I'm going to talk about the supplies that I will be using, because I have tried to narrow them down, make it simple, so that I can focus my fun just for me on what I'm working on this side. Let us go now and see what's up here. This odd-shaped do is my frame. I cut this out from an old scrap of watercolor paper, and you'll note that I certainly, when I sketch, this frame fits over this mark on the picture, but I am not making such a small sketch over here. I'm spreading it out, but this allows me to focus in to the area that I am interested in over here. For example, were I to choose this picture of tulips, I use my frame, whoops, the other side, to decide how I'm going to lay this out, how I want this to look. Do I want to show just two? Do I want to show part? Do I want to come down and get the buds? Do I want to show part of this one? I settle it in and tape it down and put it in my clipboard to use for my drawing and as a reference for color. Quite a homemade, simple tool. I will be using, and I have used on these, my Kuretake Tambi set. I've swatched my colors so that I can always apply the correct color, because some of these do not show the color that they are. If you do not have a set like this, any watercolor set will do for you to practice your drawing and applying watercolor to your picture. All it will take is some mixing of colors, and I certainly do a lot of mixing even using these. So, you do not need a set like this in order to do this job. Whatever you have in the line of watercolor, or whatever you go and purchase, will work just fine. I use this to mix my watercolors. I always have at hand my spray bottle to spray down my watercolors to get them to juice up. My clean water for painting, and my tools. An eraser and a pencil for my sketch. A watercolor brush in case I need it or wish to use it. On these last two, I did not use it on this one, but I did use the water brush on that one and on that one. I did particularly use it for these little grape hyacinth budlets. If I have a lot of background, I use my Princeton number 12 round, but I'm afraid my go-to for many years is my Winsor Newton number 6 round. As you can see, it is a well-loved puppy. And my Princeton number 4 liner, and this is what I used in order to do all of this detail work on this one. So I'm very limited in the amount of toys that I'm playing with. I don't frustrate myself. I make my decision and plunge in. Oh, let me talk about this. A package of Viva paper towels will be your friend. I wish you could feel them. They feel like fabric. They act like fabric. And they are a particular treat for myself that I use only for my watercolors. If I want to mop up or to dry off a brush, they're spectacular. They do the job a lot better than the cheapo paper towels that are so good and serve their purpose beautifully, but not for watercolor. This is something that I learned from my watercolor teacher, and since I am a retired teacher, I'm one of those folks that if I'm told something is good and it is good, I stick with it. So I'm planning next week to pick a subject, to sketch it, and to paint it. And I hope you will join me for my adventure that I'm going to call Just for Me. So think about picking some pictures, looking at only the parts, isolating only the parts of the pictures that you wish to paint, that call to you, and of course that you think that maybe you can draw. Get yourself your pencil and eraser. Get yourself some watercolors, whatever you have available, a few brushes, and off we'll go. If you have enjoyed this visit with my new Just for Me journal, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, or subscribe to my channel. See you soon. Bye now.